Yo, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to another Steve Rising video. And in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at every single exotic weapon that's going to be available at launch. We're going to be going over every single one of them, what are the perks, and lastly, also what are the characters that can actually use them. Now, this is going to be the complete list that you're going to be seeing at launch, because NetEase did give me a bit of an early access to the main version of the game for a couple of days so I could check out a few things, and this is one of the things that I'm allowed to show you. Now at launch, there's going to be 20 exotic weapons in the game, and let's start with our first and only auto rifle, the Sweet Business. Now the Sweet Business, if you are familiar with it in Destiny 2, it is pretty similar. The first perk is Payday, meaning that the weapon has a larger magazine and it has increased hipfire accuracy, and whenever you pick up some heavy ammo, you will also reload this weapon. So this weapon actually has a 150 round magazine, meaning that you can fire this thing for a lot, and as long as you keep picking up heavy ammo, you're just constantly auto reloading weapon, and you're never gonna have to actually manually reload it. It's a very good perk, and it makes this weapon feel more like a machine gun than an actual auto rifle. Now the second perk is gonna be Business Time. Whenever you do sustained fire with this weapon, it increases rate of fire as well as its range. So as you fire this weapon, it ramps up, starts shooting faster, and it becomes more effective. And the two characters that are gonna be able to use the Sweet Business are gonna be Finala as well as Wolf. Next, we're gonna have our only exotic pulse rifle, the Furious 3, and this is the weapon that you actually get from buying the battle pass. So you can actually get this weapon immediately when you buy the battle pass, and it is actually really cool. It's a Destiny Rising exclusive. You have never seen this one in Destiny 2 or Destiny, and whenever you fire this weapon, it increases rate of fire. And the other perk is War Machine Learning. Consecutive strikes will surround a target with critical points, and whenever you hit those critical points, you deal higher damage. And this is actually a crazy perk that makes this weapon some pretty good damage. I actually got to try this weapon a lot during the beta, and it's a really good pulse rifle. And those critical points essentially just become like a big bubble around the enemy, so it's actually really easy to hit those critical points. And this activates on every single enemy, so no matter what you're fighting, you're always going to be taking advantage of this perk and always dealing increased damage. And you're going to be able to use this pulse rifle on Kabir at launch, and also Stella in the future, unless they change the weapons that she uses. She does come out in Season 1, so that might take a little while. After that, we have the exotic pulse rifle, the Polaris Lance, and the exotic perk on this weapon is the Perfect Fit. Whenever you hit precision hits, they return ammo straight into the magazine, so you don't lose any ammo for hitting precision hits, and whenever you land 4 precision hits, it's going to make your 5th shot make a big solar explosion. And the second perk is Nano Inflammation. Each debuff on the target increases damage taken from this weapon by an extra 15%, and it can stack up 3 times. Now this is a brand new perk that this weapon never had in Destiny 2, and it seems like it will be pretty good, especially with a lot of debuffs that we're going to be applying constantly. It just means this weapon is going to be doing a lot more damage. The damage that this weapon can put out is pretty good already, because not having to reload, just bypassing that whole mechanic, definitely lets you put out a lot of shots out there, and the 5th shot will actually give you quite a bit of extra damage. And the character that's going to be able to wield the Polaris Lance is going to be Tantu. After that, we're going to have the Jotunn, and while it is an exotic fusion rifle, it kind of acts a little bit more like a mini rocket. It essentially shoots like little rockets, but it does charge up like a fusion rifle, and because it is a fusion rifle, it carries a lot more ammo, so you're able to actually use it a lot more often. Now, the first one is Charge Shot. Whenever you have down the trigger, it charges up a tracking shot that explodes and burns on impact. So, just like I said, it essentially shoots like a big shot instead of just being like a regular fusion rifle. And the second perk is actually kind of confusing. It's Sympathetic Arsenal. Whenever you reload after getting a final blow with this weapon, it will also reload your other weapon. Not quite sure why they actually added this to the Jotunn, but it's just something extra that the weapon has. After that, we're going to have the Risk Runner, the exotic SMG, and this is the second time this SMG is launching with a Destiny game, which makes it one of the few weapons that's actually being in 2 launches. This submachine gun is essentially like the anti-arc submachine gun. It's going to be really good against arc enemies, and also just very good at ad clear, thanks to its 2 exotic perks that kind of work together. Now the first one is Arc Conductor. Whenever you take any arc damage, it will increase this weapon's damage, and it will also give you some damage resistance against arc damage, meaning that whatever is hitting you that's arc is going to be doing less damage. And you can also extend this effect by getting kills with the weapon. Now the second perk just kind of adds a little bit more to the perk we talked about. Whenever Arc Conductor is active, shots fired have a chance of becoming chain lightning and also returning ammo. And while it only says a chance, it did seem to happen quite often, and the chain lightning makes this weapon just an ad clearing machine. So this is definitely a top tier weapon whenever you're going up against a lot of arc enemies. It just makes this weapon a whole lot better, and it's gonna make it probably one of the best weapons that you can actually read as primary. And this weapon is gonna be able to be used by both Jotunn and Ningfei. Next, we're gonna have another SMG, the Huckberry. The exotic perk increases the weapon's rate of fire whenever you're holding on the trigger, and whenever you get kills with the weapon, it will reload a portion of the magazine, essentially allowing you to just keep that increased rate of fire, and so you can just keep chaining kills. And the second perk will actually make that even easier, because whenever you get some final blows, it gives you 15% increased damage for 6 seconds, and it can stack up to a whopping 6 times. This is an insane damage buff. There's not a lot of things that can actually stack up this high. So this thing is gonna be an amazing SMG, especially once you get some stacks on it. And it's gonna be doing some crazy amounts of damage. And just like with the other SMG, it can be used by both Jotunn and Ningfei. Next, we have the first ever exotic dual sidearms. And they come with 2 different origin traits. The first one is Cadenza. Final blows will grant you Cadenza, increasing the weapon's damage by 20. And it can stack up to 4 times. Whenever you die, it clears all the stacks. But whenever you land some final blows while Cadenza is active, it will also auto-reload this weapon. So as long as you keep getting hits with this weapon, you never have to actually manually reload them. And the second perk is actually very interesting, because when Cadenza is active and you swap to your power weapon, it automatically refills its magazine and transfers up to 2 Cadenza stacks to it. And this can actually be really good, because if you remember with the first perk, it is a 20% damage increase per stack. So when switching to your power weapon with Cadenza's active, it's essentially gonna supercharge it and make you do a lot of damage. And it doesn't seem to tell us a timer, even though I haven't really played specifically with these weapons, so I don't know if there's a timer built in for the extra damage to have in your power weapon, or that's just something that you're gonna keep for the rest of the damage phase. And if that's the case, these can be just amazing. This might make your heavy weapons just crazy powerful. Now we have our first exotic hand cannon with the Crimson, and the Crimson is actually very unique, because while it is a hand cannon, it kind of functions a little bit more as a pulse rifle. It's like a hand cannon pulse rifle hybrid. Instead of shooting just 1 shot, it actually shoots in 3-round bursts, and that's actually its exotic perk, that it fires in 3-round bursts. And the second one is Crew Remedy, meaning that whenever you get some multi-kills with this weapon, it reloads to equip primary and power weapons. And to be completely honest, this seems like a worse version of the perk. It actually doesn't have any of the healing the Crimson has in Destiny 2, which is a little weird, because I think the previous version of the Crimson in the beta or the alpha did actually have healing, because I played with it. So it looks like NetEase decided to change that and take away the healing, and now instead it just reloads your primary and power weapon. I think the Crimson is gonna be that great of an exotic, at least at launch, without any catalyst, but that could change with the catalyst later on, and you're gonna be able to use the Crimson with a Tau. Our second exotic hand cannon is the All Perfect, and this weapon actually doesn't fire just like a regular hand cannon again. This actually fires scatter rounds. It actually shoots multiple shots instead of just 1. And the second perk is Dragon Spread. Successful hits will scorch targets and deal increased damage. At base, the weapon seems okay, but where it really gets going, I think, is gonna be with the catalyst. It actually happens with a couple of weapons that the catalysts really complete them, and they're gonna make them crazy good. Next, we have the exotic linear fusion, the Royal Contravene. And the exotic perk for this one is that you can actually switch between 2 scopes whenever you hold the reload button. And these are the 2 scopes that you can actually switch between: marksman sights and combat sights, and they both do different things. The marksman sights will actually let you fire 1 long range shot. It has a lower charge time, but it does more damage per shot. And whenever you hit something with a shot, it will blind them and also chain lightning to nearby targets. This can be pretty good, especially if you're trying to make the most out of your ammo. But if you're just looking for some high DPS and output as much damage as you can, then you want to go with the second scope, the combat sights. This is a lower zoom scope that fires a 3-round burst, and whenever you do consecutive hits, it reduces the charge time on this weapon. This guy let you get so many more shots out there with a decreased recharge rate, and if you're just trying to output as much DPS as you can, then you want the combat sights. Now this is actually a fairly recent change with Destiny Rising. I don't think the beta actually had this perk on the combat sights. it used to have the old Queen Breaker as well as the old Queen Breaker catalyst as well. But it looks like they actually managed to update it to their current version of the Destiny 2 Queen Breaker right before the release. And you're going to be able to use the Royal Contravene with a Tau. After that, we're going to have our first exotic shotgun, the Octane Riot Dispenser. And this shotgun actually comes from the raid. I think it comes from the second encounter in the raid. And this is a very cool shotgun that not only looks cool, but it actually outputs a crazy ton of damage per shot, because its exotic perk is that whenever you hold the reload button, it enables volley mode that fires all remaining bullets. So if you have a full magazine, it will just fire it all at once, doing tons of damage. And the second perk is deafening rumbles. Damage from this weapon's volley significantly increases based on the number of shots. So this is just a big damage shotgun, and if you want some quick damage, you can use fire your entire magazine and basically use one-shot enemies. And this is going to be a shotgun that you can get on both Win and Chunwei. Now that's not the only exotic shotgun, because we also have the Chaperone. Its exotic perk is that it's a slug shotgun instead of just a pellet shotgun. And the second perk is Roadborne. Whenever you get some precision kills, it increases the weapon's handling, range, and precision damage. This is going to be a pretty okay shotgun. I don't think it's going to be as good as the other one. But once you get some of those catalysts, again, this is one of those weapons that's going to get much better once you actually get them. Next, we're going to have the exotic sniper rifle, the Borealis, and the exotic perk is the Fundamentals, meaning that you can switch between Arc, Void, and Solar. And the second perk will give you extra damage whenever you break a shield, matching the element. You give a couple of extra rounds of damage, as well as reload your magazine, as long as you're matching those shields. And this sniper is going to be able to be used by Tank 2. We have a second exotic sniper, the Izanagi's Burden, and this exotic perk will let you consume a magazine to load one round with additional range and damage. And that one round is like essentially supercharged. It's going to do a lot more damage than just your 4 rounds would do if you were just to fire them normally. And the other perk that it comes with, it's Outlaw Retrofit, which is going to give you some increased reload speed whenever you get some precision kills. And because your round hits for so much damage, most of the time, unless you're shooting a boss, you're going to activate this perk and reload your weapon faster. Now the exotic sword is going to be Patronage Kai, and it comes with the Arrows of Silver heavy attack. It lets you frame shrapnel on enemies whenever you do a heavy attack, and it will also set the ground ablaze, meaning that you do some dot damage after your heavy attack. And the second perk is Battle Cry. Whenever you do a heavy attack, it gives you increased swing speed and damage to your light attack for 4 seconds. So with this sword, you're going to want to do your heavy attack to start off the fight, do a couple of light attacks where you have the increased damage and swing speed, and then do the heavy attack again when that buff runs out to re-up the buff, as well as take advantage of that fully charged up heavy attack so you can do the most damage possible with this sword. And you're going to be able to use this sword with both Finala and Jolder. Next, we're going to have the Salient Licks, the Smart Bomb, or just the Smart Bomb as everyone's probably going to be calling it. And this is a grenade launcher you actually get through the campaign. This is going to be probably everyone's first exotic, and it's actually a really good one. And it comes with the exotic perk Airburst Grenades, meaning that the weapon fires in a straight line, so it fires more like a rocket, and it will also detonate whenever it's in proximity to close targets. So even if you're not right on an enemy, as long as it's close enough, it will actually blow up and still hurt them. And the second exotic perk is the Red Giant. Hold the fire button, it will charge up the grenade, increasing the blast damage to up to 50% if you fully charge it, and also its blast radius, meaning they can hit more things. It's a very simple but very useful grenade launcher that's definitely going to be helping you out through the campaign. And you're going to be able to use this with Wolf. After that, we're going to have one of my favorite exotics here, the Two-Tailed Fox. And it comes with the exotic perk Twin Tails, meaning that it fires 2 rockets every time they fire, 1 Void rocket and 1 Solar one that can track onto the same target. And the other perk is Play With Your Prey, meaning that the Void rocket is going to suppress enemies and the Solar rocket is going to do damage over time, adding more damage per shot on this weapon. This thing did some crazy damage in the beta. It was actually probably the best rocket in the game. So the Two-Tailed Fox, unless it's changed, should be a powerhouse doing some damage out there. And you're going to be able to use this with a Korra. The next weapon is going to be the exotic machine gun, the Gallows, and the exotic perk for this one is Base Nova Grenades. And these 2 grenades are no joke, they actually add a lot more damage to this LMG, and make it a lot better at dealing some damage to some of those bigger targets, like bosses or mini bosses. And then the second perk is going to be Polaris Rifling, which is going to give you increased range whenever we stay in combat, up to having no damage fall off. So if you stay in combat for long enough, you're going to be able to use this machine gun at any range without any damage fall off at all. And you're going to be able to use this machine gun with Kabir. Now that's not the only machine gun we have, because we also have the Heir Apparent. This, I'm pretty sure, is the first time ever we're seeing the Heir Apparent. I don't think we've seen it in trailers. I don't think it was in the beta or the alpha. So this is actually the very first time we've seen it. And it comes with two different exotic perks, being the heavy grenade launcher. Whenever you aim down sights with a weapon, it will start spin up the weapon, because you cannot just fire this weapon by tapping the trigger. It actually has to spin up to get ready to fire. And the second exotic perk is the Armor of the Colossus, meaning that when we're at full health and we spin up the weapon, we actually get an arc shield surrounding us that's gonna tank some of the damage that we would take. And depending on the amount of health you actually have with the arc shield, this might be a very good weapon to use. It does have a very big magazine at 200, so you're gonna be able to fire this weapon for a long time. Now it doesn't have any damage buffs just built into the weapon, at least without the catalyst, so that may hurt it when it comes to like actually doing boss damage and damage to some bigger enemies. And the final exotic weapon that's gonna be releasing with SD Rising is gonna be the Mahamajuri, the exotic crossbow. Now the first exotic perk is Tri-Murdy, fires a volley of 3 bolts, and this is the reason why I think it's gonna have some pretty good ad clear, since like all the other bows, it doesn't just shoot one, and you can hit multiple enemies with just one shot. And the second exotic perk, Delrain Bolts, means that your hipfire shots over penetrate targets, meaning you have a chance of hitting multiple targets with just one shot, and also bolts fired while aiming down sights have a reduced spread and also deal increased precision damage. So you're essentially gonna compress the volley of the 3 bolts into more like a single big shot that's gonna do increased precision damage and is gonna be better against some of those bosses or big enemies that you really want to focus on. That's why I think this bow is actually gonna be great at both ad clear and boss damage. No matter what you run into, this bow is gonna be pretty good. And with that, that's gonna be all the exotic weapons that are gonna be releasing with SD Rising. We're of course gonna have some more in-depth videos on these weapons once we actually get our hands on them, as well as how to make the most out of them. And whenever we make those videos, we're also going to be going over the catalysts as well. Some of them are very game changing and are definitely going to improve these weapons. But that's going to be it for today. Thank you for watching, thank you for stopping by. Make sure you guys subscribe for some more SD Rising videos. We're going to be having lots of guides on the first day, and so you definitely don't want to miss that. Alright, thank you everyone, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.